I think that technology will probably make crime a little bit easier in the future, and it will make it more difficult for law enforcement to be able to keep up with all of the changing technologies. Um, I think it will make it easier because criminals are becoming more sophisticated, and with technology advancing at such a rapid rate, you know, the crime that's associated with it is also advancing at a really rapid rate. And it's just frightening to know how many hackers and identity thieves and criminals are out there that have specialist knowledge about all kinds of different areas. So I think it's just a big race for law enforcement to try and keep up, really.
I think with technology there appear different kinds of crimes, things like identity fraud, stealing people's bank details, stealing people's personal information, pretending to be someone else and buying products online. So it may not be making crime as such easier, but it's making more kinds of crime possible, certain kinds of crime possible. On the other hand, technology should make it easier to catch criminals, because people who commit crimes on the internet, for example, are leaving a trace which can be followed up by the police.
I think technology will make certain types of crime easier and then certain types of crime less easy. I think that Britain is certainly becoming more and more CCTV full. So virtually every street has CCTV, which makes things like old-fashioned burglary, I guess, more difficult.
Interestingly, someone said recently, or maybe not that recently, that the internet, the whole technology thing, is an experiment in chaos. And I suppose that's my way of saying is it's hard to tell. Is it going to increase crime? Is it going to make law enforcement easier? It's hard to know because we've never done this before. And the other concept that I find fascinating is that in a way, we are now all pieces of code in a giant computer program, because our employers have computer code about us, and it's got all our personal details, our addresses, our date of birth. The government has that information. We're constantly being caught on CCTV cameras. We have phones in our pockets that monitor our movements.
I think crime will be a lot easier in future due to technology. For instance, I've got a games console, a handheld one, and wherever I take it with me, it tracks me, so it knows I'm at my friend's house, or I'm at my house, or I'm at my mom's house, and it just finds people to play with, basically. But if someone hacks into that, they could easily tell when I'm not at home, and they could burgle me or do much worse.
I think technology could easily make crime a bit easier for people to commit crimes in the future. Things like social media certainly make it a lot more accessible for different networks to hook up gangs and things like that. It's probably a lot harder to police and to control as well. So yeah, I think in the future that could be harder to stamp down on.
I think it's a very difficult area, technology and crime, because to some extent, in making ourselves more secure from crime or from terrorism or something like that, there is a pressure that we might need to give up some of our liberties and provide more information about ourselves to authorities and so on. And I think there's a lot of troubling issues around that.
So are criminals part of it? Yes. Is it going to increase their activity? Well, for them too, it's probably an experiment. And I think that's a lot of that is going on. A lot of criminals are experimenting. What can they get away with? How can they collect more money? But for them, a big question is, since they're also code in the giant program on the board, how can they conceal themselves?